realizing how much your emotions are tied to your food choices is huge.
And I'm like, everyone else is eating whatever they want right now. I might as well eat
I think
I'm going to have fun. What is getting it right during the holidays?
You can get macro calculators online. You can calculate your hydration. You can find out how many electrolytes you need. You can get food timing suggestions. All of that knowledge is just free. Like, you just Google it. You can find anything you need on there. That is not what I like to put the focus on.
I don't know that one.
I've never heard that in my life.
Sing Rudolph then. Go ahead.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer
Reindeer.
had a very shiny nose.
Like a light bulb.
And if you ever saw him,
Saw it.
You would
even say
his...
It glows.
it glows.
Just like
All
a light
of the
bulb.
other reindeers. Come on, pick it up.
Reindeer.
Used to laugh and call him names
Like
like a...
Pinocchio.
And where
They
did that come
never
from?
let
That's how we should start this podcast.
That's the most important question.
Every kid grows up knowing all those little quips, like Pinocchio, or
Yeah.
like what are the other ones?
Like the happy birthday song?
No, the little things
like
that
the
you
little
jump in.
things that's
Like
not
a
in
light
the
bulb.
original Rudolph the
No.
Rain. Yeah,
It's not?
it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's like
No.
but all the kids know to do it,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
never got sat down and told.
You know what my kids do when they sing the happy birthday song? They add in a cha-cha-cha when they sing it.
What did we used to do as kids? We do at the end of Happy Birthday, you say, "And many more."
Yes.
Yeah.
How does that go?
And she's 1, and she's 2. Are you 3? Are you 4?
Oh,
Did you
that's
do that?
new.
I've never
No.
heard that in
You
my
didn't?
life. Do it.
That's a good one.
No, they would be like, are you 1? Are you 2? Are you 3? And I mean, in elementary school, it made sense. But if you were 38 now, it'd be like, just skip 10 through 20, man. Come on.
And then do you clap at the end? What do you do when you get to your age?
I think when you get to your age, you blew out the candles. Candles.
Candors.
Candles.
I like that.
You
Let's
threw
do
my
that.
mind off starting the podcast like this.
All right, so
We're singing.
we started with Christmas music because today we're going to be talking about nutrition, of course, because Becky's here.
Holiday
Yay,
nutrition.
holiday
And
nutrition.
Becky had proposed that, it's the holidays and it's an exciting time of the year and one that can be very slippery when it comes to nutrition.
Stressful. It's super stressful. And I think the thing that made me want to do this podcast was kind of reflecting on my nutrition journey from when we first moved here, and then we would have to travel home and see family, and how hard that was at the beginning. And every year before we leave, I try to think about, well, how do I want this trip to go? Like, what am I training for? What am I trying to accomplish in my life here? And how can I deal with it at home so that I don't get completely off the rails? But it wasn't like that at first. And I think that I'm a totally different person
You're an endurance
now.
athlete
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Should we tell people you broke what did you break? Some world record for
Masters
C2?
world record?
It's the Concept 2 world record for a small team. So there were 10 of us. We rode for 24 hours straight.
Blech.
Yeah. Not all together all at once.
Yeah.
We took shifts, but we rode the farthest distance in that 24-hour period for our age group and weight class. So we broke the Concept 2 world record.
When they give you a weight class with 10 people, do you just add all
it's
the weight
the heaviest. So I am a lightweight, but we were a heavyweight team. And then
based on the heaviest person that's in your team?
So if you have all lightweights and there's one heavyweight, you're a heavyweight team.
Interesting.
And then the way the age groups work is it goes by the youngest person. So we intentionally had 2 30 to 39-year-olds on there because we wanted that record. But I'm 40, almost 42. Most of the other women are in their 40s. But it was the 30 to 39-year-old record.
That was just an even bigger flex. We
Yeah.
set the world record in the younger division.
Last year we set it in 40 to 49, so we went for 30 to 39 this year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Segue.
Yeah. Now I lost my train of thought. We were talking about nutrition.
Yeah, we were talking about holidays, talking about traveling, I feel like as my nutrition coaching journey has progressed, a lot of what is helpful is just the experiences that I've had and how I got through it. Because I feel like, and I tell my clients this, if you're going through it, either I've done it already or somebody that I've worked with has done it already. So that's why I thought this is a good time to talk about holidays, traveling, kind of the suggestions and things that I think will work best for you.
Yeah, the holidays being stressful, I feel like can happen. Like the stress is so many different ways, because even just the break of routine can be stressful for people that like routine. Like, hey, you got to now travel or go somebody else. You're sleeping in a different bed. You don't have access to your kitchen. So like that's just one of the stressors, but then there's also emotions of family and all of that type of stuff. And one of the things that you had said in your original email with this stuff was that setting the framework for emotions and how much they impact food and behaviors was kind of like part of that journey. I thought that was something we should.
Yeah. I think when it comes to success in nutrition, realizing how much your emotions are tied to your food choices is huge. And just being able to realize that is like a very, very big first step. But being able to make that connection of, oh, I feel this way, this is my tendency around my food choices, is huge. And then you throw in the mix of like travel and stress and being with family and not being in like your comfort zone, and that just makes things a lot harder.
Can you help me give an out for other people like me who rarely do travel and rarely do see family, but still go off the rails?
Yeah.
I mean, that could
Come
be
on, I
emotions
need an excuse
too,
here.
Like you, I don't know, maybe you're sad that you don't see family, and that's like another thing. But I think it's
All
still.
right, now we're cooking.
Yeah, I think that is my coping mechanism too.
Yeah.
And also just boredom. Like the whole world shuts
yeah.
down. I don't get to work on a regular basis. I'm not always with people. And I'm like, everyone else is eating whatever they want
Yeah.
right now. I might as well eat what
gotta
I
join
want.
in.
I think
I'm going to have fun.
boredom is one. Just tired, not sleeping well, being sad, being lonely, all of those feelings. Most of the time, you turn to food. You don't realize that you do it because, again, it's since you were born up until now, what have you done? And it's just the habit that you're in. And, with any habit and routine, you don't think about it.
There's also, I don't know, maybe a misconception around nutrition that being emotionally tied to food or being an emotional eater is always having the emotion lead to eating. But one of my toxic traits with regards to nutrition is that I'll get stressed out and anxious, and then that will make me nauseous, and then I won't eat. So I'll go, 8 hours without eating, just drinking coffee and training or having Gatorade, then get to the end of the night. And I know intellectually I should be eating more based on what I did. So I know I have to eat more. And if I'm compressed, like, okay, I only have 4 more hours that I'm awake and I need to get all of my macros in, I'm only going to be able to choose bad foods. So
that's when Back in Black cues up in your head. Cheeseburger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's not trying to suppress the emotion. It's actually trying to feel it more and kind of just like work through it, and then being a little bit objective and just connecting dots. Like, I feel this way, point A, point B, point C. Like, I think people think they shouldn't feel a certain way and they try not to, or they're embarrassed or they feel guilty. And it's just feel what you feel, and then just know that this is what you tend to do. And if you don't like that choice, we have to change it.
Do you think that's the hardest part of nutrition, coaching nutrition for people in general? Because I think everyone talks about macros, hydration, amounts, carbs per hour of intense exercise. And like a lot of the science gets lost into the hard sciences, like the biology, the anatomy, the physiology. But I personally, with my own struggles, and they're kind of like, they're multiple ways. They're like being shamed as a little kid for getting chubby, and being in a weight class sport where I had to starve and cut weight and go through yo-yos. And then all of those behaviors that you locked in when you were a kid, now you're like dealing with them as an adult and trying to kind of break free from them. So I know for myself, that emotional thing is always the hardest, because I know what I'm supposed to do. It's just executing on it around my busyness, my anxiety, whatever it is. And I think that's true for most people. But most people just either don't acknowledge it or don't talk about it.
Not at all. You can get macro calculators online. You can calculate your hydration. You can find out how many electrolytes you need. You can get food timing suggestions. All of that knowledge is just free. Like, you just Google it. You can find anything you need on there. That is not what I like to put the focus on. It's like the human side of it, right? I tell everybody it's easy, like it's simple instructions, but it's not easy. Yeah. If it was easy, everybody would weigh the way they want to. They would perform the way they want to. They would be able to train. But it's the human side. It's the emotions that, one, not everybody realizes how connected they are. Two, even if they realize it, they don't really know the steps in order to change it. So when I talk to my clients and they make that breakthrough, it's like, oh, I know that when I'm feeling this way, this is what I want to do. That is like huge. That is the biggest first step, is to understand and try to be able to predict what your tendencies are, because then you can change it. If you're just stuck in the pattern and you think that you can't change the way that you eat, or like food is in charge, you know what I mean? Like, you're never going to get out of those cycles. But once you realize you're in charge of it and how you deal with it, that's big.
What do you think the end goal is then? It was holiday themed. So like, what is
You can go broad if you want.
yeah, I mean, go broad, but I was more so thinking like, what is most people, I would say like, maybe not most people, but athletes put a huge amount of focus on nutrition and trying to get it right, because they realize, hey, this is a big part of the equation. What is getting it right during the holidays? Because I feel like it's kind of different if somebody's like trying to get bigger and stronger, or somebody's trying to just like not divert from healthy and go too far on binging. Like, what would you say is like, hey, this is our outcome. We're trying to coach people in holiday nutrition.
Yeah.
Like, what is good?
I think you have to come up with a priority list. I think you can't do 10 things and whatever you're normally used to at home, you can't do that when you're away. That is just, I mean, I'm a pessimistic person, but I feel like that's just realistic. You can't do everything. So you have to find out what the most important things are. And usually I tell people to pick 3 things, because I think 3 is manageable. You could probably have a 4th or a 5th. But whatever those 3 things are that are most important to you, that's all you focus
Can
on.
you talk about real quick why they can't do everything? I mean, besides...
Well, okay, so we'll use my example. Yeah. When we travel, we drive to Ohio. We drive over to Pennsylvania. We have 2 kids. We have 2 dogs. Right now, the way that I train is I have machines in the garage. I can go out there whenever I want to. Boys are at school. I have free time during the day. I get my work done. It all kind of fits in. When we travel... 1, I can't bring my machines with me. 2, the kids are around all the time, even though they have cousins, they play. 3, I'm not at my house, so I never feel completely comfortable just doing whatever I want to do. I always feel like I'm going here. Is it okay if I do this? So I can't train the way that I want to. So that has to change. I've just come to the realization that I'm not going to be able to fit in all of my ski or row or bike sessions. So I prioritize. And it's usually, I'm just going to row. I'm going to get in 1 row session a day when I can. And I'm at peace with that. You know, if I get in my 1 row session, that's my priority. I check that box. It was successful, you know, rather than trying to do 2 sessions a day, driving to the gym. You know, as the day goes on, it gets busier. I can't fit everything in. And then I feel like a failure because I missed 3 sessions because life just got busy. So that's one thing. I think my priority is get in my row sessions. Another priority is managing food for me, which means like I eat the same thing for breakfast. I make sure I keep that consistent. Lunch can be hit or miss. And then dinner, I try to make choices that, 1, won't upset my stomach, and I try to just not feel like I have to eat everything. Because that was one of my big struggles from being at home here in Georgia to traveling back to visit family, is that stuff I don't have all the time. And then I used to be like, I have to eat all of this because it's so good and I'm never going to get it again. And then I would just be full of regret afterwards. Like, why did I do that? So now I'm like, my family makes ravioli. My mom's side is Italian. Big meals, big holiday meals, all that stuff. But like, I don't eat everything. I eat ravioli. That's the one thing that I want. My aunt makes cookies. She's like a cookie maker of everything, but there's only 2 or 3 kinds that I really like. So that's all that I'll eat instead of eating all of the things.
This is starting to be unhelpful because
I eat all the things.
Now all I want is freaking ravioli and cookies.
Yeah, but going back to the question and the priorities, that's like priority 2 is breakfast is the same. I try to keep things as close to what I do at home as possible, but then pretty much at dinner, it's kind of like, all right, don't go overboard, but you can have the stuff that you enjoy.
So this makes sense. I want to do like an avatar play,
Yeah.
like, or a theoretical person.
Yeah.
So you're over 40 kids. You're an athlete, but more of a recreational athlete. You're not trying to be a pro rower or anything.
No.
Even though you have a world record.
Yeah.
If somebody was, let's say, late 20s, early 30s, wanting to compete in CrossFit, Then they have Wadapalooza coming up in a couple weeks. They're trying to manage training as much as possible. This is probably like a type of person you've kind of worked with nutritionally through the holidays. What does a priority list look like for somebody who's in that type of an athlete profile?
Yeah, I mean,
like an example one.
Yeah, probably training in food, but it's just a little different than my training in food. And I think one, being very upfront with, it's probably their parents that they're saying, being very upfront with their parents, this is how I eat and this is why, and I just need a little bit of support there.
Hold on, did that type of person that Max just described, are they typically the hard-headed, I'm going to do everything by the book, or are they more relaxed, or how are they heading into it?
I think they're typically more stressed out about having to do it, and those are the questions that they have is how can I be as normal as possible?
Like they want to be able to eat the ravioli and the cookies and everything like a normal day.
This is definitely a generalization, but usually the younger the person, the easier it is to stay normal. And then older, your own family, kids, then it gets harder, right? So we can go from that spectrum, right? If we start with a young kid, maybe they're traveling home from college or something, or they train here, but they're going back home. I think just talking to whoever you're staying with, and you have to be very, very upfront with, this is what I want to do, and I need your support, whether that's helping me grocery shop, helping me meal prep. I think for them, trying to get in training like early in the day is probably the way to go if they can, to make sure that that priority is set. But then I also think it's very, very important to be able to have a meal, right? Christmas dinner or New Year's Eve, whatever, that is for enjoyment, because this person is probably very, very rigid throughout the year. They're probably tracking food all the time. They don't miss a training session. And I think having one planned break, right? You go into vacation and you say, this day I'm going to eat dinner. I'm going to eat the stuff that I want and that I don't really get all the time. Removes the emotion from it, removes the guilt from it. And it's just another thing on the checklist. Like, boom, I did this. All right, tomorrow, back to normal.
Do you think going down that same rabbit hole with somebody who's like more competitive and like in it, that there could be an argument that say Christmas is the 25th and Wadapalooza I think is like the 23rd. So you almost have a month in there. Let's say somebody was like, hey, I want to go see my family and I don't want to think about food as fuel or training. And I want to take a full 2-day deload, like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, fully deloaded. I'm going to set one baseline minimum. Like I got to hit my protein target and then everything else is eat what I want, deal with the inflammation and consequences, maybe have 2 easy training days after those to like get your body feeling good again and then get back into training. Is that something that like is fine and it's more of like an individual preference type thing, or you think it's better to try to stay like more locked in if you're in that athlete mode? Because I feel like there's something to say about just like emotionally feeling good.
Yes, I would love that. I wish that people realize that it's kind of about doing the minimum versus all of the things. And the way that I help people is there is no judgment on my end. I just say, what do you want this to look like? And then I help them do it. So if that is a priority, 2 days of chill, all right, check it off the box. You did it. And then just the days before, be on it. The days after, be on it. I think it's very, very important to plan ahead. You don't want to be stuck. You want to know how you want the week to go, and you don't want to be surprised or be in a situation where you don't know what to do. So if you want 2 days of relaxation, you plan it, and then you did it. Whereas if you went into the week unsure of what you wanted to do, then it was one of those days where just like everything was crazy and busy and you did not eat the way that you want to, then you feel bad and then you feel guilty.
Because you didn't make the decision.
Yes, and then that influences the next day, and it's either, oh, well, yesterday was bad, I can do whatever I want today, whatever. Or it's yesterday was bad, I need to overcorrect on the other side. And then it's just like this up and down of emotions. And
I feel like you're describing me right now.
It's everybody, right? That's why I wanted to do this, because literally when I tell people, I try not to make it about me, but like my experiences kind of influence how I coach, so I can't help it. Yeah. But it's everybody. Yeah.
I don't think anybody gets away with it. And I feel like sometimes people think they're doing the right things, and then those things end up like nipping them in the butt, because is that the right phrase? nipping in the
Is
nipping.
it?
No, whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like
It is now?
there'll be people who are like intermediate level athletes, and they're, they have 9 to 5s, they work, they want to get better, they want to do everything good. They're training almost all year like professional athletes, even though they're not professional athletes. Then work gets to take a break. Training gets to take a little break. They have this opportunity to like decompress and like chill. But I feel like, and I've been in this mode too, because I think sometimes I take things too seriously and forget the fun, is that you try to do everything right. And by trying to do everything right and staying on it all the time, you're actually doing yourself a disservice, because the like pulling off of pressure and learning how to relax allows for more longevity and consistency.
Yeah.
And I think people do it the most in food. They'll be like, I got to eat keto. I can't have more than 30 grams of carbs, or I got to weigh and measure all my numbers. And then they start measuring. They can't be 5 grams over on their nutrition without feeling like a loser, or whatever the case is. So I don't know. It's just kind of a thought that I had.
I think my ultimate like wish for everybody that I coach is at some point they just learn to trust how they're feeling, whether they're hungry, and just kind of know this is the amount of food that like I probably need to eat in a day. And you can't just do that. I just can't just like start with something and be like, hey, be very intuitive and like in touch with your emotions and like just eat what you feel.
I'd be intuitively grabbing pizza.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There are times where you need to quantify it and weigh and measure. I think that is something that I don't want anybody to do forever for the rest of their life. But yeah, you're on it and you're tracking and you have goals, and usually during your competition season, or if you have to make a weight, like, okay, this is when we do it. But then there's also times where I intentionally tell people to stop tracking, and that's very hard for some people sometimes. Yeah.
I have a hard time switching routines. So if I'm like eating just habitually whatever I want, getting into a new food for like a week or two will be really hard of a jolt, and then I'm fine. But then if I need to switch it again and I need to go from like, okay, now I was weighing and measuring everything and I've been dialed in and I feel really good, and then somebody tells me to like chill and relax, I have a hard time, because it's like relinquishing control. And I'm like, man, I just got into a rhythm. Now I feel like I'm breaking it, and I feel like I'm not doing well according to what my previous thing is. So it's I understand the challenge because I live it.
Yeah. Like I don't want you to be 75 years old at like the buffet table weighing stuff. Like, no. But yes, that is something that in my head I always have as an end goal for people, but I really don't ever bring it up until, if we've been working together for a very long time. Maybe it's the end of their season or whatever it is. And then I just kind of like throw it out there casually. It's never something that I try to push, because really I think breaking up with the food scale is like, it's very hard. Yeah.
You mean for people that
everybody, yeah.
If they weigh and measured.
Yeah.
Getting into a relationship with the food scale could be hard too.
Sometimes, I mean, lately, there are a lot of people that I don't even start with it now. I just kind of go by, all right, well, this is what you're eating right now. Just swap this out or add a little bit more. Because that is something that I think once you get the system, that's easy to do. And then that carries on throughout your life versus, all right, weigh and measure everything. But eventually, don't do that. Yeah.
When do you think it's best to do it? And do you think that there's any case for doing it during the holidays?
Actually, hold on. Can we switch gears for a second and just have you ask her about her like system as if you were starting from scratch?
Her system for what?
Like how
you
I
walk
eat right
through,
now?
Yeah, just kind of walk through how you think about how you'd bring on a client and how you'd start with them, and like your little process, and just kind of talk through that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right. Let's imagine Chris was our client here. No, I'm just kidding. But I know the process a little bit, but how do we start?
Yeah, I mean, where I've come to lately is I'll ask them to track food. If they're not used to weighing and measuring, I don't make them start. I just have them list out what they do. If they are used to it, I say, give me your MyFitnessPal stuff or whatever. And then from there, based on that, if they are tracking or if they aren't tracking, that's kind of the path that I take. If they aren't tracking, I'll usually just look at their food choices. And very basic things that I start with are breakfast and trying to just keep that consistent.
Why?
It's the start of the day. Usually nothing has gone crazy yet. You just woke up. And then that is also something that you can kind of like have ready to go maybe the night before. So it's just easy. Breakfast, I like to have breakfast be consistent.
Also, it's a good thing if you're somebody who's like productive that you feel like you could check it off. Like this morning, I was actually like pressed for time, and I was like, I'm going to go work out and I'm just going to drink coffee. And then I was like, damn, I'm doing a nutrition podcast today. So I like made grilled chicken and my eggs and I ate it. And in doing it, I was like almost feeling a little proud of myself. I know it's stupid because I should just be eating my breakfast,
that's
but
really important.
it's such a small little win.
Small wins. And then we'll talk about protein. I try to get people to eat protein every time they eat. Just that's an easy way to make sure that you kind of get enough in the day. Enough protein. There's a very wide range. So I just...
Do you find that that's hard for people?
Yeah. Some people, general health people, it is pretty hard. They're pretty low.
You jump to the next step of the process. Yeah. The first step in terms of tracking, or like it sounds like that's like meeting somebody where they are. It's like, hey, this is what you're doing now. We're going to make a change. A lot of nutrition in the market is give me your anthropometrics and what your goals are. And then instead of meeting where you are, I'm going to tell you where to be. Yeah. So it's like, hey, you're 5'11" and 240 and you want to lose 15 pounds and your moderate activity level. Here's the protein target. Here's the carb target. Here's the fat target. This is what you eat. That's not what you do.
No. Again.
Did you ever do that?
Probably way back in the beginning.
Like when you first started.
I would have the calculators and I would age, height, and weight, but most people don't fall into just like an easy straight line from here to there thing. So where I've come to lately is, all right, this is where you're at now. This is where I want you to be, but like this is the baby step first. Usually that baby step is establishing consistency in whatever it is you do. So that's why I like breakfast to be similar.
And you would say this is for people who have like long-term vision, right? Like if someone came to you and said, I have this goal, I got to cut weight to do X, Y, Z by here, you would probably end up doing something more like Max just said.
Yeah. I don't think I have any clients who have there's maybe 2 that have started with me who have been like, I want to weigh less. And I say, okay, let's cut calories, because usually people are all over the place with food. They don't even know what they're eating, or they're not eating enough to begin with. So consistency is the one thing that I start with. But I do have a few who are, they're very like type A, right? Like I tell them what to do, they're going to do it. They were very confident in themselves to be able to do it. Like I know it's going to be hard. I'm going to be hungry. I'm still going to do it. And their lives are such that they can make food almost the biggest priority. And when I told them, you probably have to stop doing high intensity and just low steady state, like you can do CrossFit later, but right now CrossFit's probably not the best for you. They listened to me. They had good success and were losing weight. Their calories are very low because they started very low. But not everybody has that type of personality, has that lifestyle, and is willing to change the way that they train to get their goals. Yeah,
it would be that personality type, or bodybuilders, or somebody who's like in a fight camp, or somebody who's prepping for like something really short term.
This, like this is something very important.
Yeah. Top priority, short term. But the stuff you were talking about was more like, hey, long term. We're trying to get to a point where you're like good with food.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a comfort
again,
zone.
like I said, my ultimate goal is you don't have to weigh and measure things. You can maintain your weight where you want it to be, and you can live your life.
And you can perform.
Yeah.
I mean, you're performing.
Yeah. And that's not easy. I'm happy where I am now, but that's been, how long have we been here? 9 years.
Yeah.
Nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, but very few people are going to go on a 9-year nutrition journey to get where they want to be.
But you're going to go on a lifelong nutrition journey, whether you're conscious of it or not. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's a non-negotiable that you
even if you are like have a short-term goal and you're trying to get somewhere, at some point you're going to get back on track to just being a regular person.
I tell everybody,
and you got to eat.
Like food is the one thing that's consistent from the day you're born until the day you die. Like training will change, life will change, but like you have to eat, and having a good relationship with food, like that's huge.
So you said step 2.
Yeah, step two was protein. How long does generally speaking, how long does it take somebody to establish consistency in tracking to getting breakfast dialed in? Like when you're first working with
Well, this person that I'm talking about, it doesn't track food. So the person that doesn't track food.
But you said you make them track. Even if they're not tracking, they'll just take pictures or tell you what they're eating or whatever.
Yeah.
I can still call that track.
Yeah, usually I'll pick they'll give me like 3 days of normal eating. I'll pick a day, like this was a good breakfast. Eat this every day. They can get that nailed pretty quickly. Protein might take a couple weeks, but I just give them choices. Everything, not everything, but most of my advice centers around making it easy for yourself. So don't cook big meals if you hate to cook, like microwave bags and whatever. And then the third thing, it's really just 3 things. I really like to get, the number 3 is stuck in my head a lot. I just like to give 3 things. You can do 3 things. The third thing that I try to work on is increasing vegetables and fruit. Fiber is really good. It's good to have a variety of vitamins and minerals. So I say just stick some green things at dinner. Usually the end of the day is when people are tired. They want to turn to snack food. So just filling up your stomach with lots of green leafy things maybe will help you feel a little bit more full, and you won't turn towards the pantry at night.
So if somebody was eating breakfast, hitting their protein targets, eating veggies and fruit, and they hit those 3 things, you think that's 90% of it?
Yeah, that's
simple.
90% of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. Nutrition is boring. The way that I coach it is boring. There's nothing flashy. It's just put in the work and do the basics over and over again all the time, right? Because even if you hit your breakfast for a week and then the next week, all right, I hate protein at every meal. And then the week after, all right, I got my vegetables in. Something happens the week after where you have a work trip or your kid is sick, and then everything goes out the window again. So it's not just 1 week of doing it. It's months of doing it. Yeah.
How, this maybe is like me asking a personal question in my therapy seat. Your life is built around routine at home, kids at home, very structured. I travel 25 or 30 times a year. I'm not that structured in general. Sometimes I have morning meetings. Sometimes I film in the morning. Sometimes I work in the morning. How do you help people build those habits that have lifestyles that are hard to build routine? Even if some of it is just my own, like, hey, you got to be tighter with your ability to set this as a priority. Yeah. I'm assuming there's other people listening that are like on the road right now or commuting to work and didn't have time to make breakfast or whatever.
I mean, it's kind of the same things. It's pick your priorities. People who go on vacation, we talk about this a lot. And usually it's choose from this list, right? You're going to hydrate every day. You're going to get in enough water. You're going to make sure you eat protein every time you eat. You're going to get in daily movement. You're going to make sure you go to bed on time. And you're going to eat vegetables. I push vegetables a lot because you would not believe how many grown-ups don't like vegetables. But, right, it's like this list of 5 things. Just pick a couple that you can do. That's it. It doesn't have to be this lofty goal that you may or may not succeed at. It's when you're traveling, what are the things I know I can do? And that's your successful trip.
So you just basically lower the standard.
I lower it. Yeah. Do the minimum that you can do to feel like you're still making progress or still on the right track. And then you check your boxes, and then you don't feel bad about, well, I didn't do this. Well, that wasn't on your list. It's okay that you didn't. Or maybe you couldn't train. That's okay. You did what you wanted to do. And then when you're back at home, all right, now you do all the other stuff too.
It's like getting the perfectionism out of the way.
Yeah. That's so hard. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next step then after you do those 3 is what? You help them maintain
those people
it?
that aren't tracking, the next step is usually I just try to like see if they can eat more here and there, because I think a lot of people come to me not eating enough.
Is that a CrossFit thing, you think?
It's just like a
I've
life
heard you
thing.
say that so much, and it's
like
always mind-blowing to
It's
think
a life thing, yeah.
I don't
like,
yeah.
You've even had people come in wanting to lose weight, and you make them eat way more food, and they do lose weight.
Yeah. It's the only thing I can say is it's what my gut is telling me.
Yeah.
I don't have like an equation, it's just you start with what they're doing. It can't hurt to try to eat more than what you are eating and keep an eye on weight and how your clothes fit, and usually like little bits here and there, and they can eat more.
Yeah. I have my MyFitnessPal data. I maybe am like 80% consistent with Tracy on and off, and the highest consistency time I had was when I think it was before the 2022 Open or the 2023 Open. And I was like, oh, I'm turning into a master. I'm going to try to make it into the top, whatever. It was like, forget what the percentage threshold was that year to make it into the Masters semifinal online. And I was training regularly. And from the time that we first started, I think my average intake was like 2,600 calories and it went up to like 34 with the training volume, 3,400. So a pretty substantial jump.
Yeah.
And I think over a 6-month period, I lost like 14 pounds or something like that.
It's huge. It's not that the energy balance equation isn't valid, but the way that I describe it to people is when you eat more, your body has more fuel so you can push harder in training, and maybe you move more throughout the day and you don't realize it, or you like can row harder, run harder, so you're burning more calories. So it still is the same, but that's hard for people to get on board with, and it's really just a matter of let's try it. I'm not going to just let you keep adding and like gain weight like if you're unhappy with it, but most of the time it's the right thing.
Yeah, I think too, I've only really seen it, or maybe this, I have a smaller sample size with nutrition because I don't specifically nutrition coach. I just more coach training stuff. But I think the group of people that will get improved body composition from increases in intake are usually people that were long-term underfed and did like some almost like hormone damage inside that makes their resting metabolic rate lower. So increasing their food, even though it increases the calories in, it also can increase the calories out because their hormones are then operating better and their actual like resting metabolic rates and stuff are actually functioning properly. Or people that train really hard in CrossFit, because I feel like if you, or any high intensity sport, could be mixed martial arts or whatever, but you do that high intensity training under fueled. And again, I think it has the same internal system. It could like start shutting down and getting slower and lethargic. So feeding that group more. And I think that's where the fitness industry can get lost maybe sometimes, because for the sedentary population, it probably is almost more just like, hey, you're probably eating too much relative to what you're doing. Like lower that side of the dial and you'll lose weight. And then I think that's where that fight comes. People are like, no, calories in, calories out. You can't eat more and lose weight. And I'm like, yeah, but in specific populations, I've seen it.
Yeah, 100%. I have too. Yeah.
Sorry, I went on that tangent.
Right.
Chris, you told me before the podcast to let her talk. I couldn't help myself.
I mean, so that was the general client that I start with, doesn't weigh and measure things. Really, I just try to bring awareness around amounts and just consistency without trying to make them weigh and measure things. And then we try to slowly like eat more and just see how they feel with it. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes they're like, I love this, I'm ready to be done. And I'm like, okay, great. Like I've helped you. It's a short relationship, but like I've helped you. That's good. If I can get people eating more, eating fruits and vegetables, and like getting insufficient protein, I feel like that is a job well done for a certain like general health person. Sometimes those people then want to go into weighing and measuring. And I think weighing and measuring is helpful just to know, okay, well, this is actually what I'm eating and this is what my life is like. This is how I'm training. Because most people, even general health people, they do something. They walk or run or go to whatever fitness classes. All right, so we'll slowly start weighing and measuring. And usually I start with just protein, again, because that to me is kind of the number one macro. Just see where they're at with protein, see if we have to adjust that number, and then I'll have them track carbs and fat and just kind of see where they're at. And again, that's just building awareness around, okay, this is what you're eating right now. Now that you have a number and you're consistent with that number, if you want to change the way your body looks, it's easier because now it's just making that number smaller or bigger.
It's just making little adjustments to it.
Versus, okay, well, I don't know what I eat day to day. I don't know how much I eat day to day, but I want to lose weight. That's very hard to do.
Or I think I eat this, or people will say, oh, I'm pretty regimented. I eat the same thing every day. And then you actually like start weighing, measuring, and you're like, you're not. Like you're 400 calories off on one day versus another day. That's 20% difference or something like that.
So your body likes routine. Your body likes consistency. Try to eat the similar calories. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that's another thing I feel like I need to stress is nobody is perfect. You're going to mess up. And the key to success is, do you have a plan when you mess up? Not trying to never do something wrong, because that's also where people get tripped up. Yeah.
For the average person that is going through their kind of journey, let's say they get the primary things that you said done. They're eating breakfast on a consistent basis. They get fruits and veggies throughout the day. They get protein in every meal. They hydrate. They just do those basics. How much of the gains in like outcomes in terms of performance or body composition or whatever are just from that versus taking the next step, which would be like weighing and measure and titrating exact amounts to get what you want? Like, is it like, hey, you get 80% of the way with most people just with the basics or more? I
think it depends. And I feel like usually guys can get away with just like tightening things up a little bit, changing what they eat and their choices, and they'll notice changes. And I think women, it probably comes from like wanting to eat less and be smaller and like not eating enough to begin with, or strength training, and they kind of need to be a little bit more like, this is exactly what I'm eating. That's just what popped into my head. I feel like like I said, with guys, it's a little bit of just eat some green stuff and no chips, and they can change their body composition.
So you think that like the women getting to the next level do have to go through that next phase at some point? At
some point. I think most people, it is a good idea to go through a weighing and measuring experience. Again, just it's eye-opening how much food you're actually eating. And then it also just makes things more obvious. This is the number, so now this is the number that you have to do. But again, whatever their goals are, at some point, if we get to their goal, then, okay, this is how you relax from doing that. You've hit your goal weight or weight loss or weight gain. Now the goal is just maintaining that. And again, it's doing the least amount of hard stuff that you can do to maintain that. So don't weigh and measure for a couple of days and see what happens, and, you know, that kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. But then somebody who starts with me who's already weighing and measuring, it's a little bit easier from a creating consistency and daily calorie standpoint, because I just look at it and I say, you are very off. This is what you have to do. Or I look at it and say, oh, you're pretty good day to day. That number still seems kind of low. Let's try to increase. But it's just increase with what you're already eating. You don't have to add in new things. Those people, I also, like I said, try to find times when like, okay, maybe we just take a break from it. I think it's good. You know, you've been doing this for months and months and months, maybe years. Your body knows what it needs and it's used to it. And you know, eyeballing what your food looks like day to day. So maybe let's not track breakfast, because it's the same every day. Why do you need to track it anymore, or something like that?
Yeah. Man, this was supposed to be a holiday nutrition, but this just became a nutrition talk in general.
Well, good.
Covered all the topics, Chris. Anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I guess the process doesn't end there. It just ends based on the individual at that point.
Yeah.
In terms of like continuing past those steps. Like some people might have to track for years because they have 40 or 50 pounds they're trying to lose, or some people are tracking because they're in their athlete mode of their life for a couple of years, and some people just, they get it figured out in a couple months and they're like, hey, this makes sense to me now, peace out.
Yeah.
So that basically it becomes variable to the human at that point.
It's the human side of it is what I try to coach. And like I said, there's you can get any number thing online, but that's not the part that people struggle with.
Yeah, it's not hitting the numbers. It's just having the behaviors to be able to track the numbers on a regular basis and cook to get the numbers right, and all the stuff that goes into the numbers, the context.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have anything to summarize for the holidays? Now we can circle it back to the original theme.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, the reason why I wanted to do this is because everybody struggles. I think everybody struggles, whether you travel, whether you stay home. The holidays are hard because it's just all of the emotions wrapped up within, and all of the changes in routine that are wrapped up with it. And as long as you can just set your priorities and try to remove the emotions around it, right? If you just have your checklist, then there's no guilt or anything that you feel. That's kind of the first step to just being successful, and also knowing that in this grand scheme of things, a week or two out of the year isn't really like make or break with how you deal with your goals.
Chris, what are your holiday goals this year?
My holiday goals?
Priorities.
That's all the time we have. No, I don't have any holiday goals.
All right, everybody.
Get huge.
Can we wrap this baby up?
Merry
Becky,
Christmas.
thank you. See ya.
You can do something more seasonal than that.
Happy holidays.
Ho, ho, ho.